Hey everybody, Astral Hex Encounter. What you're looking at in front of you is Winter War from SPI. I can't remember the year, early 70s I believe. I did some searching on Kijiji here in town. I'm not sure how far-reaching Kijiji is, but it's like an online classified ads basically. Where you can find all sorts of stuff for sale. You can put stuff up yourself at no cost. So the costs start coming in when you want to add more photos or you want to bump your ad to the top of the page, that sort of thing. But if you just want to place an ad, it's free to create an account and place an ad. So I did some searches. I've been doing searches for quite a while for combat simulation and war simulation games. Those seem to be the two key phrases when searching. I've typed in war games and there's a lot of video games that come up. But when I type in combat simulation or war simulation, a lot come up, and all of them were from this same one seller. And I found out, after getting in touch with him about this game, I found out that he deals in used books and things of that nature. And he happened to come across a stockpile of games, I guess in his hunting. He didn't give me all the details on it. So he's got a storage space. He doesn't have a space that he sells out of, like a store or anything. He just he used to participate and organize some conventions in town, some book conventions and things, and sci-fi convention, I think. And now he just kind of deals with stuff online and deals with stuff in kind of book seller circles, which I assume is also online or at little pop-up conventions or flea markets, that sort of thing. So he had these games on sale for a long time and they just weren't moving. He had a lot. There was a couple that were interesting, but as I've discussed before, my interest in kind of war recreations is a bit limited. I don't find it the most fascinating thing. I like watching the videos on it and I do like playing some of them. But it's not my main focus. But this one has been on my list for a long time, this Winter War. He was asking $60 for it, which wasn't unreasonable whatsoever. The prices that I've seen when they're on Board Game Geek were about the same, plus I'd have to add in shipping, which would make it more than that. So I wasn't, there was no problem paying the $60. I made him an offer that was less, and he said he just couldn't go any lower than $60, which was fine by me. The Russo-Finnish conflict, 1939 to 1940, is what it covers. We'll have a look through the bits. The first thing I wanted to talk about was this SPI flat pack edition. I wish I had a comparison. Here, let's grab a comparison. So here's the size of a comic book compared to the flat pack edition. So almost twice as wide by, you know, a little bit more than 1.5 or a little bit less. So that's the idea. And it's relatively thin. I'll just get this out of the way. I think it's horrible. It's a horrible, horrible pack. I don't like it whatsoever. I guess it'll fit on my shelf just fine, but I really, really don't like it. The thing I do like about it is it seems to be like the original. I don't know if I'd watched this guy Callendale, if you're on Board Game Geek or if you follow him on YouTube. He does a lot of war games. He's a unique individual and I enjoy watching his videos. When he was showing off the gameplay of this, the edition that he had kind of like a paper cover on the outside with the cover art of the magazine that I'll show you that's inside here. So I don't know if that part is missing, if this is how it came, if his was a different version. There seems to have been a magazine version and a flat pack version according to Board Game Geek. And like I said, this is the flat pack version. So let's open it up here. these little tabs, and then we open it up to inside, where we have on one side, and this is where the confusion kind of sets in for me. Inside is the Strategy and Tactics magazine number 33 that the game also came in. So I have a copy of the magazine. Here's a copy of the rules. The rules are really minimal. 1, 2, 3, 4 pages, that's it. And then we have packed in here the map as well. Now, this is the other thing. For Callendale's video, I rewatched kind of the intro and the review of it again, just to get a sense of maybe what edition he has. His map that came with his is bigger than a magazine, much bigger than a magazine, that he can't pack them together. Whereas the map that I have is the map from the magazine. So it confuses me. It feels like it's the flat pack edition minus the map, and then it's the magazine edition thrown in with the flat pack. I don't know, and I haven't, so since it seems to be a hodgepodge of things, I'm thinking of getting rid of this box completely, storing the magazine and all those components in with my Ares Gaming Magazines binder, and then I can just bag up the chits that are in here. The one thing I do like though is I like having these trays, so I might pop out these trays and save them as well. I think it's 2 separate trays. Oh no, it's one bigger tray with 2 little lids where you can organize the various pieces. As you can see, I've already been in there and started clipping the corners. I just have to clip these blanks. So let's have a quick look through the magazine. It's a very cool issue to have, actually. I didn't realize what was contained in the issue. Let's have a look. We'll look at the map in a minute here. So, Strategy and Tactics. Hopefully that's coming up. Okay, it's a little overcast here today. I love that. I love that image too, first of all. Really, really great. So, let's see. So it says coming in our next issue, which is September 1972. So this one was obviously 72, but I'm not sure what month. It just says 72 up there. Anyway, 1972 for the magazine edition. Now this is the thing that interested me the most. There's an archive.org site, I believe, where you can find a lot of all the Ares magazines, first of all, but I'm pretty sure that you can find all of the Strategy and Tactics magazines. So if you do want to find this article, it's issue number 33, the Winter War issue. Amazing article. I've started reading it. I'm a couple of pages into it. Really, really incredible, and a nice kind of surprise, because it's one thing that I am interested in. How wargaming began, what was it used for mostly when it started, because in my mind it seems like it would have started as a version of actual combat where leaders of forces would create scenarios so they could see certain outcomes and practice certain maneuvers and certain ideas that they had for a particular combat, and see how they would play out in kind of an analytical sort of way. And that is basically what happened. That is what it was mostly used for early on, until it came into a little more public and people started playing them themselves for entertainment. But the roots of such war games lie far in the past. Chess, Go, even checkers were once probably thought of as suitable training for war. But if chess had ever possessed any value as a simulation, that value was long gone by the 18th century in Europe. By then, there had been too many developments since the days when battle was a collection of single combats. They talk about the Europeans, and they talk about kind of the development of chess. and variations on them, and how through chess and those type of games, these what we know as war games or combat simulation games came to be. Really, really fascinating, and takes you through the history, and talks even about that there were kind of two camps of war games, one that was a little more rule specific, and one that was a little more free-flowing. The most interesting part of them, though, was that both versions had an umpire, so they had another party who was in possession of the rules, in possession of not only the rules, but also what each side's goals were on a particular mission that were not told to the opponents. So each side was told that they had a specific task they had to complete, and how they went around the board doing it, and he was kind of the final say as far as any sort of discrepancies on the rules or making sure that people were playing the game properly. Some of these games they played for months on end, and it was kind of a part of their training in these military units. As much as the physical activity and everything else took place, the kind of combat simulation game was a really major part of their lives, and was met with different degrees of dislike and enjoyment. And from what I understand, when they were first kind of utilized, most people hated them. But then as kind of history progressed, and things kind of changed, there was a couple of generals who really took a shine to it and continued tweaking rules and that sort of thing. And that's kind of where I am right now. Then it gives you a 19th century war game, the American Kriegspiel. So I haven't read this part of it yet, but it looks like this is kind of what the game board, I guess, would have looked like. They would have been squares, and then eventually they developed into the hexes, which we know. And there you can see the different military units, symbols. So, like I said, I haven't read this, but I'm sure that this is an example of what the games would have looked like. And then naval wargaming, and then just more bibliography, and then a part 2 on it, where we get to learn about Avalon Hill and SPI and other modern, at this time, modern gaming companies, and a lot of the designers, including our old friend Redmond Simonson, which I'll get to in a minute. And this looks like it's kind of just talking more about the hobby. The hobby is born 1965 to 1969, I guess, is when they're saying that things started really taking off for wargaming. There's a little bit of minor damage to the magazine, but other than that, it's in incredible condition. Thomas N. Shaw, Christopher Wagner, there he is, Redmond A. Simonson. Graphics and game speak. James Dunnigan, another big name. Really in-depth and incredible article, and they say at the top, they have a little blurb at the top about, listen, you know, we're talking about the history, we're going to be talking about our own company in glowing light. We can't not talk about what we as Avalon Hill and SPI have contributed to the hobby. So if it reads as a little bit arrogant, we apologize. We're going to try to kind of maintain a little bit of a distance from it, but it's hard to escape talking about themselves as they do. What else do we have? That's it. So then, you know, 25 pages later, you're finished that article. So that was an amazing, amazing surprise. I'm really, really glad that that article was in here. A super nice bonus. And then kind of talking about Winter War, talking about the history. During the summer of 1939, the USSR became concerned with the growing power of Nazi Germany and began acquiring buffer areas from other countries such as Poland. The Soviets were worried about the exposed positions of Leningrad and Murmansk if Hitler moved into Finland. Thus, they requested that Finland turn overland north of Leningrad and some land for a base on the Gulf of Finland. In return, the Soviets would give up some rather worthless forest land in eastern Karelia and sign trade and defense treaties. So just a little bit of the background, look at the area at the time, some tactics, talking about the Finnish forces. They had some ski troops apparently too. The Soviet forces, and some talk about the weapons, talking about the tactics, the results of the war, and then the bibliography where they got information from. So a nice kind of a look at the time, and looks like some game reviews in here as well. If I could turn the page with one hand. More reviews, ads for some of their games. Barbarossa, that's another one that's supposed to be pretty incredible. More ads, and then it looks like some letters possibly, and that's about it. So there you go. That's again, that's Strategy and Tactics magazine number 33. I'll try to remember to put the link in here as far as the archive.org. Maybe I'll try to find the page and put a direct link to the page where you can read the article or download it and print it if you want. Really, really amazingly great surprise. Even if it is a bit of a hodgepodge of a magazine edition packed with the flat pack edition. So I won't go too much into these. I haven't really read them yet. I kind of have one more day of work left, and then I'm off for a little bit. So then I'll probably get into this game as well. The usual kind of layouts. Callendale was saying that even though it was a small rule set, it was fairly dense, and it took him a couple of reads, which I fully expect. And if you've watched my gaming videos, you will completely understand that I'll be going back and forth to this. And then there's a small section of optional rule scenarios and special events, which I'll probably include when I play the game as well, because I think a lot of that information is also included on the map, which we'll take a look at now. I'll cut and we'll come back in a minute. Alright, here's a look at the map. Really, really nice. It's one of those things that I'm in that camp of loving the SPI maps. I love the colors. I just really, really like the layout, and I really like the looks of this map with all the writing on the outside, terrain effects chart, your combat results chart, your victory point schedule. There's special events that you roll for depending on what side you're playing for. Special events on that side as well. And then a section where you have your kind of troops that are going to be coming in and what game turn they come in, etc. Same on the opponent's side as well. Yeah, what can I say? It's beautiful. So it's 4 magazine sections wide by 2 high. So to give you a rough idea, I believe that's right, because it did fold to the exact size of the magazine. Yeah, so there's the magazine. So 4 wide, 2 high. Not a huge map. It will take up a nice chunk. I usually play my games this way, down at the end of the table, and it fits on my table really nicely, so that'll be good to tuck away on the back edge. Open up the table a little more and maybe have this laid out for a few days. There you go. That's Winter War Strategy and Tactics magazine version mixed in with the flat pack version. Yeah, like I said, I just have a feeling that that'll be something that I get rid of. I don't like the looks of it. It's not going to fit on my shelf really well. Maybe if I packed it this way, but I don't know. I just don't know if I really want the hassle of this thin box that's a little damaged anyway. I'm not as concerned of keeping it as I got it, since it seems to be a hodgepodge of stuff. So anyway, enough babbling. Thanks very much for watching, and check out the website for the strategy and tactics, and give Callendale's videos a watch for gameplay if you're really curious. Like I said, he's a unique individual, but I really enjoy his videos. I really like listening to him talk. When I can follow him, there's been times where I can't quite follow him on some of the games, but this one was fairly easy to follow along with. All right, thanks.